Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another podcast episode of She Speaks Her Mind, your comfort person, your go-to, your host, Anna Pedron. Welcome back. So before we get into this podcast episode, first of all, can we talk about the past couple of weeks of why I haven't been posting? Well, let me just tell you, I have a lot going on behind the scenes and a lot of personal things. For example, my jaw was locked for the past week, so I could barely talk. Thought I had TMJ, but I was just grinding and clenching my teeth during my sleep, and I really had no idea why. And then I went to the dentist, and they had to tell me that I had a billion cavities, but I mean, I am the one to blame here. I haven't gone to the dentist in a hot minute, so maybe that is why. I like to keep my teeth clean. I brush my teeth, I floss my teeth. I just had all this gunk building up in my teeth, so had to get 3 fillings, and the rest was history. I just was not motivated to film a YouTube video, film a podcast or whatever, but now I am feeling like myself again. I'm feeling re-inspired. It is so nice out, you guys. Spring has finally sprung. I'm so over this winter weather. If you live in a city like where I live, in Canada, Edmonton, Alberta, let me tell you, you're gonna have to go through a bunch of seasons, and sometimes you just never know what you're gonna have that day. And a couple days ago it was snowing, and now today it's plus 20. Not sure where that came from, but I'm grateful. But anyways, today we are filming in the car. I thought it was just really nice because the weather is so nice. Wanted to get out of the house, see what nature has to offer. I'm ready to get back into the grind again and film for you guys because I have missed you guys. I miss connecting with you guys in a personal way where I can just chat with you guys every single week, because that's the best part, is when I post a podcast episode and you guys would eat it up. Let's get right into this episode because we are going to be talking about being the boring friend truly made me become happy and productive. This is a topic that I've wanted to uncover for a long time because for the longest time, the things that I do as a hobby or things that I enjoy, I used to be a little embarrassed about what I did because it would be, boring to others or it would be lame to others. And when I started my little fitness journey back in 2017, that's when I started finding out different hobbies that I enjoyed. And by this time, a lot of my friends were still at this partying and drinking stage. I was pretty much over it. I did not find it fun anymore. I would honestly just get called being lame for it, and it made me feel bad for, putting myself first. There has actually been so many times where I would try to go out and drink and have fun with a big crowd, but every time I did, I would always end up reminding myself, yeah, this is why I don't go out in the first place. And at this point, I'm pretty much just being a people pleaser and joining in on their type of fun. And when I started doing more things that didn't involve drinking is when I realized there was more of a bigger world out there. And I was like, wait, whoa. Getting enough sleep, eating moderately healthy, going to the gym, and waking up feeling amazing the next day without feeling hungover. What else? Finding friends that actually want to work out with you and maybe grab a smoothie after is something a girl like me is all I could ever really ask for. So what you're gonna have to accept is that the things you find fun is not going to be fun to everybody else. But this is all to say that I am not perfect whatsoever. I am not who you would call to be, oh my God, she does it all. She is the queen of getting her shit together. And that's not what I'm saying, because do not get me wrong. At one point, this was so fun to me, but I was so young at the time. When you get to a point when you just do it for validation or trying to please other people for drinking, that's when times have changed. So before we get into this podcast episode, I do want to say that, I might not be your cup of tea, and that is okay. But if you're listening to this, obviously you are interested in maybe thinking you are that boring friend as well and you can relate to me. Or you're just very curious to this episode and wanting to hear my perspective and seeing what this is all about. But we can agree to disagree if it comes to a point where, you know what, there are some things I can relate to her, but other things I can't. And that's okay. I do believe, though, that there is a balance to enjoy all your hobbies, be on top of your routine, and have nights where you maybe want to go out and have drinks with your girls. But one thing that you should know about me is that I will never lose sight of my goals. So even though that I'm saying this about myself, this is something that maybe you can get inspired by and think to yourself, wait, maybe I do have goals in life that I want to achieve, but sometimes I would have to sacrifice doing the things things I want to do and going out and have fun to pursue these goals. And that's okay. But what I think is that I just want a different outcome than everybody else. So if you want a different result, you have to make different choices. I do love a girls' night where I can have them over and have a couple of drinks, still socialize, and still have the best time of my life. I don't need to be plastered the F out and forget every single little bit that night and, not knowing what I did and maybe feeling like having that feeling of regret of not drinking in the first place. So that's why having like a girls' night or just like still doing things while you are conscious with who you're with, your surroundings, is honestly something that I personally just would want. So if you're in high school or you're in college, university, it might be a little different because, as we all know, at that stage, all your friends are going to be partying and going out and having the best time of their lives, drinking every single weekend. I could not anymore. I would literally not be able to recover ever. But somehow I did it when I was a teen, and maybe I just had superpowers back then. But now that bitch is dead. That bitch is gone. But anyways, when you feel like you're different from the rest and you seem to want to go in a different route in life than all of your other friends because they have still the same mindset and are just very comfortable with where they are, where they don't want absolute change, it's okay to take that risk and go for it. So in the beginning of my whole self-love journey and really finding myself to be happy and productive I really struggled with being alone, believe it or not. Even though like a lot of my content is learning to spend time alone and like loving yourself for who you are, at one point I did not know how to be with myself and be in tune with myself. I was very uncomfortable to have alone time with myself. I was always so codependent with having the need to always be hanging out with someone or just like, being around my family and making sure that like someone else was there and just being present. So when I started this journey of my little self-development journey and having to cut off some people in my life that didn't serve me a purpose or gave me a sense of value to be their friend anymore, I lost a lot of friends. And at that point, you are gonna feel lonely. And then sometimes you would think to yourself, am I the wrong one here? Did I do something wrong? Like maybe I shouldn't have made this decision and did what I did and cut them off. But sometimes it's the best thing that you will ever do for yourself. The outcome that you're gonna get with this is that the feeling of loneliness eventually turns into just you hanging out and being alone and actually enjoying your own company. So when I started doing many things on my own and actually being confident with being by myself out in public, and I would post about it, I knew there were some people out there that would always have a say on what you do and tell you that it may be, in quotations, isolating. The thing with me is that at this point, all I can really say is that it does not feel isolating. No matter how many times that you're trying to explain to someone about why you just want to be spending time alone, there's never going to be a right answer for someone that just doesn't really want to hear the answer that they should hear. So when you have hobbies you do enjoy and things you would rather do on your own, you sort of feel this high and like immediate happiness because it's all you could really ever ask for. So when I was at a stage in my life where I felt lonely and lost, a lot of my focus was on other people. I did lose the relationship I had with myself. I really didn't know how to make myself happy or motivate myself, whether it's romantic relationships or even relying on codependent friendships. But when you depend on other people for your personal fulfillment, it's always going to leave you disappointed. So don't feel bad about, being the boring friend, because in the beginning, you might seem like it may be selfish for you to take time and focus on yourself, because that's how I certainly felt. People really made me feel bad for wanting to spend time alone and focus on my priorities. And still to this day, I feel like some people have a say about you shouldn't be spending too much time alone. Like, okay, I know there is a balance. We get that. I know my boundaries and when to be able to socialize, because that's still important in your daily life, is having to interact with other people, because you can't just, have too much time alone and not interact with anybody at all. That's not what I'm trying to say here. This is not the episode of spending time alone made me love life, because I have an episode for that. And if you want to go check it out, make sure you do, because that explains more of that certain topic. But anyways, also at this stage, when you are aware with your new goals and where you want to successfully be, you're eventually going to outgrow a lot of people in your life, and people from high school, even your childhood best friend or best friends. So at that point in my life, I felt like for me, it really seemed like that I had to sacrifice my own happiness and my mental health for theirs. And it just leaves you feeling unappreciated and drained, just to end up being the bad guy when you end up cutting them off and you start prioritizing yourself. But going back to outgrowing people and outgrowing friendships or whatever, sometimes there is really no specific reason on why that happens, and it just does. But I think it's just all part of growing up as well, and just being adults and taking your own path. So it's not anything that maybe should be taken personally for all of us. And we just have to take it lighthearted and tell ourselves that in this life, we are going to meet a lot of people that we're going to come across. And sometimes they're not going to stay in our lives forever. Some do and some won't. But you learn a lesson from every single person you meet. With that being said, it does come to a point in your life where you eventually find people in your life that truly care about you and want the best for you. I know it may be hard to grasp this at an age where you might be a little bit more younger than me, because I am 25. If I were to hear like a podcast episode like this, I would try my best to see the positive outcomes of this and tell myself, you know what? Maybe there is good people out there that I'm eventually going to meet one day and do the things that I want to do without feeling judged, because you will come across those people, and seeing as you are, maybe it's still in high school, it's going to be hard because you are going to be surrounded by those people for the rest of your high school years or your college years or whatever. But even if you are like maybe the same age as me, or maybe a little bit younger or older, and you're still like, I'm not at a point in my life where I want to do the things that I want to do, because you might feel a little bit anxious, or you just feel compelled to do what others do because you still have that friend group and you don't want to lose them. That's all on you, boo. Okay? Like sometimes it is hard to let go of friendships that you've been friends with for so long. But if you want to succeed and like do your best in life, there are some choices that you have to make that will sadden you, but the outcome is what you want. So going back, eventually you are going to find people that actually cheer you on for following your dreams. And that's going to feel so good when that does happen. And I'm not going to lie, like sometimes your journey is going to get lonely, because you might see stuff on social media with people having these big friend groups and you can't relate. But eventually when you just keep going through your journey of focusing on you and your priorities, it won't matter in 5 or 10 years if you have a big friend group or not, because at the end of the day, it's just about the people that are there to support you and care for you. If you think about it this way, let's say you're on your deathbed. Who are the people that you actually want to be there, that you want to be surrounded by? Not fake bitches, that's for sure. So if you think about it that way, that gives you like a little bit of a different perspective. I know that we are still so young and we always want to be, comparing ourselves sometimes on social media, and sometimes it's inevitable, but at times you can shut your phone off and realize that's not the real world. The real world is actually getting out there and doing your own thing, getting out of your comfort zone. So everything does work out, and everything that you have wished for will come true. Don't rush the process. Be patient, because in the end, like this whole journey is all part of the process of living it. So right now, it may be chaotic in your mind to think that you will never find the right friends doing all these like boring, mundane things with you. But trust me, if I'm able to find the right people in my life, or even, I'm still finding people in my life that I want to be surrounded by, and like having a very strong friendship with sisterhood, I'm still finding that. But at this stage in my life, I'm just liking where everything is right now. I don't need to know what the next thing is, and the next thing, and the next thing, We're always going to be thinking in that way where we always want the next thing. But just remember, like, what you have right now, just keep loving the process. You should never have to convince someone to do all the mundane things with you, because if you just ask someone that would not judge you, then those are your right people. Now let's talk about relationships for a second, because in this day and age, I feel like it's really hard to date people out there, considering I have heard multiple stories of people trying to date and they can just never find the right person, or just always going through trial and error when they always are looking for someone to date because they're just in it for the temporary and you actually want to be all in it. This is why having a relationship with someone that actually cares about everything that you do, to even still dating someone and having that time to myself and filling up my own cup by taking care of myself and doing things alone, doing my self-care girly rituals and solo dates, your partner really has to understand. Or if they don't, they're really not giving you your boundaries. So if I'm able to fill my own cup, I'm able to fill up their cup by being there for them and supporting them in whatever they need or whatever they want. So now, everyone is their own individual person. So if you don't know things about yourself that you like, you will never know the things that spark your own joy or maybe anything you're good at. So with this being said again, never be ashamed of doing your own thing. Never feel embarrassed to feel like what you do is boring, because I love all the hobbies that I do because they are fun to me. Who cares about what anyone else has to say? Because if it makes me fulfilled, that's all that really matters. So think about it this way. When you no longer have the energy and the feeling of being misunderstood, wouldn't you want to finally have that feeling of just having a peaceful life where anyone's opinion doesn't bother you anymore? You don't want to deprive yourself and find ways to be accepted and try to fit in. Have people in your life that want to see you do good and see you strive for success. And maybe even let them join in on the fun, mundane, boring things because you know that they would actually be down for it. But if you're someone who knows that you crave alone time to recharge your energy, don't let anyone else's opinion or outside noise get to you and thinking that what you're doing is wrong, because it's not. So after everything that I've said into this podcast episode, it really is all up to you on how you want to design your life and make it work for yourself. And it's okay to be the boring friend in somebody else's eyes because you are doing what you love, and whoever sticks around is meant for you. I think that is all for today's podcast episode. I don't know whether if this podcast episode was a little bit shorter than the rest, but I think I did my best to cover everything that I wanted to cover on this topic. But if there is a topic that you want me to talk about, let me know in the show notes on Spotify. Let me know in my DMs on Instagram, whether it is on my main account or the podcast Instagram account. Or if you're watching on YouTube, comment down below. Make sure you do follow me on all my social platforms. I'm ready to be posting consistently again, feeling re-inspired, and I'm so excited for spring because I feel like a brand new bitch when the sun is out. I thrive in warm weather. I'm so ready for spring/summer. Anyways, I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys next week.